Yo, what's happening, everybody? What is good? We are now here with the midweek report. That's right. I've kind of like been off for a little bit, handling a few things, but we are, back at it here as we want to, talk about, a few things that have happened within the sport of boxing. Um, as you had like a few announcements that have, come down a little bit as far as what has been going down. Wanted to, get a few things crack a lacking as far as like this thing for the midweek report. First off, I had the um, thing about the fight that was announced for looks like it's going to be May 28th. It's going to be on Showtime. Looks like Showtime pay per view, so to speak, with Devontae Tank Davis going up against Rollie Romero, and that that particular fight, you know, is looks like it's going to be scheduled for May 28th, and then it'll be on Showtime. And the initial reports about this particular fight was coming out that he was going to be fighting a Rolly Romero, and that we just had to figure out what the date would be for that particular fight. My thing was that hey, we knew that it was coming. We knew that it was about to go down. At least at the very least coming from the trainers for Gavante Tank Davis, of course. We got Coach Kenny and Coach Calvin Ford. They were talking about this particular fight. Pretty much coming from a few weeks back. You know, so it was just a matter of what the date was going to be that they were going to go forward with this particular fight. So my thing was like, hey, you know, let's see when this is going to go down, um, and what it was going to be rescheduled for. Of course, you have reactions from fans of the sport and things like that. Of course, they want to complain like, "Oh, man, Tank had to why is he fighting Rolly Romero? And what couldn't he have some for? George Bosa's or these other guys in the lightweight division. He ain't really facing anybody." Well, first of all, y'all hadn't really talked to uh, Calvin Ford. Calvin Ford said that Tank Davis is ready to fight any of those fighters there in the lightweight division. No problems with fighting any of those fighters in the lightweight division. Number one, but the thing is here is that they're under contract to face Rolly Romero. And if y'all of course have followed what it went down, Rolly Romero had those allegations for misconduct, but all of those accusations were pretty much out the window, you know, and because there was an initial press conference announcing the fight that was scheduled for December, there was an actual contract. So since it was a contract, and since that particular incident didn't fall through or follow through to like a trial or anything like that, then there would have been a case where Rolly Romero could have said, "Hey, I should have been able to fight Devontae Tank Davis in December." Even with what was going on, you know, I wasn't able to do that. But because they went ahead and they went to face Isak Cruz Gonzalez, y'all owe me a fight. And get me a fight, y'all will have to pretty much say, you got a settlement going, you got some step aside going, or whatever it is. Because if not, y'all gonna have to pay me one way or another. Now, of course, it was supposed to be something in reference to consolidating the WBA, you know, um, and that with the thing happening with the WBA, kind of consolidate itself, you know, um, they want to go ahead and have, Rollie Romero champion at one point. He was like and that type of thing. So with him being the interim champ, he would face the regular champ. Let me see something here. I want to make a few real quick. So let's see how this. Want to see. Hold on. All right. Let's see how this goes because want to continue this discussion here. Hopefully y'all are hearing me pretty good here on this bit. But we want to continue this discussion here in reference to the 24 for that. So that's what's been happening as far as like that is concerned. You do have this particular fight. Said is going to be scheduled for looks like Memorial Day weekend. Oh man, that's going to be something. Memorial Day weekend is a fairly notable weekend when it comes to sports. Um, I think you usually have uh, the conference finals going on during that time. And remember last year, Tank Davis fought over in Atlanta. You know, he fought Mario Barrios in Atlanta, and that next day you had the Atlanta Hawks facing the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I mean that kind of like shows like how much activity was going on during that weekend. So maybe they want to try something here with Gavante Tank Davis and try to set up something where he has a fight during Memorial Day weekend, and then another fight, I guess around November or December. Maybe do something like that, or maybe like I said, Memorial Day weekend, or the weekend for Halloween or something like that, because the fight against Leo Santa Cruz still around that Halloween weekend. You know, so maybe they're trying to work with him as far as like Showtime and Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellaby, Al Heyman, and those are trying to schedule Tank Davis to have fights twice a year, with one fight, I guess, around May or June, and then the next fight either in October or November, I would say. So that's what I see with that. Uh, as far as like with Rolly Romero goes, Romero's gonna still come in there with a lot of confidence going into that particular fight. Um, like he said before, he was supposed to face Tank Davis. Um, Initially, he was like, "Listen, I'm gonna fight Tank Davis. And I'm gonna knock him out. Yeah, like I don't see what people see in this guy. I'm going to knock him out. You know, um, I just have all of this confidence, and it's gonna be a real fight, but I'm still gonna knock him out." And he's gonna have his little thing, so to speak, and try to you know make it a fight and try to I think it'll be more of like him trying to make it a sloppy fight, so to speak. to kind of frustrate Tank Davis. But for me, I think Tank Davis will be able to overcome all of that, and then eventually he'll be able to. I say that he may be able to stop uh Rollie Romero, but I mean we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes. Um, so there's that. The other thing is that we see that they made the announcement for Conor Benn to have his next fight, and his next fight would be against Chris Van Heerden. Chris Van Heerden, is there at welterweight. Uh, he to me, he's pretty much kind of like the um, near equivalent to the fighters that Conor Benn has been facing over his past few fights. I mean, he's had his win over Chris Algieri, where he was able to knock out Chris Algieri. He, defeated Adrian Granados. He defeated Samuel Vargas. Those three guys are pretty much around that same level in the welterweight division, as far as like to me, as far as like overall ranking and as far as like the level of experience. So Chris Van Heerden, has a fairly good record there of 28 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. Of course, he had his 1 no contest there against Jaron Boots Ennis, where was pretty much like a clash of heads. But he hasn't been in the ring since. So you're coming off a long layoff to go up against Conor Benn, who has seems like he's rising up and things like that. Shout out to Bruce Goes in the building, listening live. What's going on with my man? Um, but Conor Benn, had a few guys that were kind of mentioned as potential opponents for him. You had Kell Brook. You had Adrian Broner. Some people were mentioning Jerron Boots Ennis, but we knew that wasn't going to happen. But for Conor Benn at this particular juncture, it looks like a good amount of interest is coming towards Conor Benn, but we got to see where he is as far as like his overall level when it comes to being a potential contender at 147 pounds. So here with this matchup against Chris Van Heerden, that looks like some type of you know I don't know if it would be like a measuring stick of sorts, because like I said, I just think it's still like a fight that's still in the same level of the fights that Conor Benn has had over the past um, year or so. We had 3 fights last year, pretty active. Against Samuel Vargas, Adrian Granados, and Chris Algieri. And so, here going up against Chris Van Heerden, it looks like they want to, keep that activity going. Now, and some may know that, what it was like a year back, a couple years back, they were trying to build Conor Benn to go up against Josh Kelly. But Josh Kelly had his little issue, when he fought, David Venetian and lost to David Venetian. So I'm like, hey, why couldn't they try to get that particular fight going? But they couldn't do that. Of course, Venetian has a fight scheduled for March 19th. It looks like, as he could have been in there against Virgil Ortiz Jr. But Virgil Ortiz Jr., I guess said, I don't think I'm going to go to the route. I'm going to go to the WBO route, and that's why he's facing Michael McKinson. You know, that's on March 19th in Los Angeles. But for Conor Benn, Conor Benn is looking like they're trying to build up those type of fights for him to kind of like gain his little experience. So I mean, if he has his fight against Chris Van Heerden and wins, don't be surprised if he has another one of those particular fights here later on in 2022. He could face somebody like a Thomas Delorme or someone else like that. Maybe he'll go through the quote unquote of Juan Business. But for Conor Benn, if he goes in there and he's pretty impressive against Chris Van Heerden, then maybe he'll get some more interest along the way, and he might garner some more money, I guess. As far as like if more people want to go ahead and see him fight. So that is one thing here that we're looking ahead there in the near future. Want to get in a guest, see if we could check in here. It's been a good little minute that he's been in the building, but want to see what he has as far as like thoughts in boxing. Mister Who You Pick himself, world ranked is in the building. What's happening?
What's good, sir? I was strolling these Twitter streets and I saw that you just went live, so I just wanted to check in, see what's going on.
Yeah, man. I'm just going over a few news and notes here in the sport of boxing. I had taken a little bit of a podcast past weekend, so I didn't really get to talk about the fights that went down like Chocolatito and a couple of those other fights that went down. But wanted to get in a midweek report to talk about this thing here with Benn going ahead and facing Chris Van Heerden, and also the thing with the Tank fight, because like I'm saying with Tank and Rollie, since they had scheduled it for Memorial Day weekend, I'm thinking that they might go ahead and have that fight at the Barclays Center, especially since the Barclays Center says, "Hey, we're all the way open. You don't need to have a jab card or nothing to attend events at the Barclays Center." So, that being said, I think we're going to have boxing coming back to the Barclays Center real soon. And I think that particular fight is one that I really think would be a good fight to have at Barclays.
No doubt, anytime you can get Barclays back into the swing of having big fights and uh, and having events, that's always a good thing. So yeah, if they have that, that is actually a good. I don't know. Tank Romero still to me kind of feels like a West Coast fight. I don't know why, but it kind of feels like a West Coast fight. But if it's in the Barclays, man, it will do well.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, it was, originally scheduled to be over there in Los Angeles Staples Center, or now the crypto.com arena or whatever it is. But they couldn't necessarily keep that going. So they're going to reschedule it. And from conversations that have been had by Coach Calvin Ford and Coach Kenny through Rise Inc. or the Rise podcast that's on YouTube, that they were saying like, hey, we're going to still go ahead and have that fight against Rollie Romero. It was just a matter of when they could fit it in. But my thing, what I was saying earlier was that the fight with Rollie was an actual fight. They actually had an agreement to fight, um, and that they actually had that press conference outside the Staples Center. So even with what was going on with Rollie Romero, since like there was no trial, there was like a little bit of investigation, but the investigation had him cleared of everything. That meant he could still fight. And to be, I mean, just be straight up. We've all seen instances where fighters have had legal issues or issues with the police or whatnot, and they were still able to fight. And in this particular case, Rolly Romero wasn't able to fight on the scheduled date. So, maybe they said like, "Hey, we might not have you here for this particular bout right now, but we got you for a fight in the future." And so I think that's what's happening here in this case, because if they didn't go forward with the Rolly Romero fight, regardless of what the WBA said, they still had a contract. And if they didn't go through with the fight, it would have been like a breach of contract of sorts.
So let me tell back on the conversation, and let me ask you this, because
Uh,
everything you saying making sense. But my question is, in the instance like this, did Rollie have, because he wasn't charged with anything, did he have any right to hold up the pit bull fight? Because in theory, if he had signed a contract and there was no
mhm,
charge and there's no
mhm.
charges being brought up on him,
Right.
he would have had a right to get in the way of that fight, right?
Right. So I mean, I forgot like how fast it was before they had cleared everything. But even with that, like, he was still, mobile, able to move around, able to, be at, public places and that type of stuff. Like, I mean, for example, on this YouTube channel, when I had done coverage for Crawford versus Porter after the Crawford Porter fight, one of the fighters that I had asked about a fight was Rollie Romero. Actually, that was like the first fighter that I ran into after that fight was over, was Rollie Romero. And shoot, it was just a couple weeks later that he was in attendance in Los Angeles for that Cruz fight. So yeah, I mean, he would have had a little bit of a case to where he said, "Hey, like, there hadn't really been anything serious, brought up against me, so I should have been still been able to be in camp, should have still been able to fight, and should have been, able to be paid." But I guess they had something where, they said, hey, maybe we could just go ahead and have this fight later on down the line, as long as you're still down for it, as long as the terms are, I guess still around the same or whatnot, then yeah, we can still have the fight. But yeah, he would have definitely had a case, as far as like, halting that particular fight that Tank had against Isak Cruz, because yeah, he still was quote unquote physically able to perform, you know?
Yeah, so it's probably one of you, what you said, where they probably just had the conversation. Hey, we just gonna give whatever's going on a little bit of time. We still gonna honor the contract, but we just gonna go ahead with another fight for this date. But we promise you in the future, you know, that this fight is gonna happen. So
Yeah.
he probably didn't. There was really no reason. He probably went on the word, and there was probably really no reason to push it any further than that. He was promised in the future, and I'll just go ahead and take that.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much how that went down. You know what I'm saying? Um, the other thing I was talking about before you got on was Conor Benn, going up against Chris Van Heerden. That fight has been announced for April 16th over at Manchester Arena. I'm pretty much say that it's a pretty much the same type of fight that Conor Benn has had, over the past year, as far as like the level of fighters that he's had. Hopefully, some people don't compare this to like uh, what Jerron Ennis is doing. Well, at least one person I've seen on social media has. But the thing about it is like Conor Benn is kind of like being brought up a certain way, but people aren't viewing like Conor Benn as the next real serious guy at welterweight. Like they kind of know where Conor Benn is at this particular point of his career. Like they ain't saying like he's a surefire, world title contender, or he's a surefire guy that's going to be a world champion or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think this fight here, Ben versus Van Heerden, is pretty much like the same level of him, facing Chris Algieri. Him when he faced who it was Adrian Granados or Samuel Vargas. So that's how I kind of like view this particular fight that he's having coming up in April.
Nah, I agree 100%. He's at this stage where a lot of people, let me not say a lot of people, the promoter views him as a potential star. So he's trying to handle him with care. But the fact is, he's at a stalemate in terms
Hey, hold up. It seemed like you had cut off there. Yeah, it seemed like you had cut off there. I don't know if you're still with us for a ring. Your audio cut off. Um, might have to go back, go off, and then come back on here real quick. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like you was talking about with Connor Ben is pretty much like fighting around the same level of guys here up to this particular point until we kind of like see where he is going to be placed in the welterweight division. I was like looking around uh the rankings, so to speak, for the division. And he's kind of like there floating around, 10 to 15, top 10 to 15, pretty much around, number 10 or whatnot. The ring has kind of been ranked at number 10, below Raja Batayev, David Avanesian, Ilman Stanionis, Keith Thurman, Virgil Ortiz, Boots Ennis, Yordenis Ugas, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. You know, um, but these, but you see that a good number of these guys here are soon to face each other in the top 10. You got the Spence Ugas coming up in April. You got Stanionis and Batayev, part of that same card, and like I said, with Virgil Ortiz Jr., he's, facing Michael McKinson, where he could have faced David Avanian, but, didn't necessarily happen. But, I guess Conor Benn is at a particular point where we got to see like where he's going to be at in the welterweight division. Looking here, it looks like Conor Benn is ranked number 7 in the WBO, ranked number 5 in the IBF, and let me see, he's also ranked number 5 in the WBA. You um, so he could have this fight against Chris Van Heerden, and then after that, where would they put him at? Will they have him like go up against the likes of maybe a Ivan or someone like a Cody Crowley. Cody Crowley had defeated the former guy that was the top ranked person in the IBF rankings there with Kujatil Abdulkakarov. So Cody Crowley needs to have something I guess set up here, so to speak, if they don't have anything out there for him as of yet. I have to, check here to see if the uh, the yeah, if Crowley has anything, but he hasn't been set up for any fight since his win over Kujatil Abdulkakarov. Um, I just looked up the thing for Cody Crowley on the rec, and it says his nickname is the Crippler, and Crowley is from Canada, and you don't want to be. I don't know if you want to be called a crippler coming from Canada. If folks know what I'm talking about, that might not be a good look there, buddy. But either way, man, we just got to see what's up with Conor Benn here coming up in April, as this when his next fight is going to be there against Chris Van Heerden. Like I said, it's going to be in Manchester Arena. So that will be like, a good little bit of a scrap there for Conor Benn, so to speak. So, kind of like looking forward to see what this means there for, Conor Benn. I think they're going to have, what is this other fights that they looking to schedule here. Chris Billum Smith versus Tommy McCarthy is going to be part of that card. Zelfa Barrett against Farouk Korbanov. And oh my God, here we go. Oh man, they're gonna have Campbell Hatton included in this card. Oh my God. Yeah, they're trying to. Hey, I guess they're trying to push Campbell Hatton, but hey, I think it was what it's like third or fourth fight where he really lost that fight, and they gave him the win by decision. Like, oh man, come on, man. Like, what is we doing out here? What is we doing? But either way, like I said, Conor Benn is there going up against Chris Van Heerden. What that means for him in the welterweight division, uh, can't really say because I don't think Chris Van Heerden really kind of like moves the needle that much as far as like putting anyone in position to really contend for a top spot there in the welterweight rankings. Like I said, Conor Benn is a ranked number 10 in the Ring magazine rankings currently. It seems like, um, but with the fights that I did mention as far as like those that are happening within the top 10, that kind of like makes Conor Benn be a little bit towards more towards the bottom part of the top 10. Probably could be under top 10, depending on who you have there around, 12, 13, 11, 14, or whatever. So there is that. I did also have a video that's posted up in reference to the former unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Of course, Anthony Joshua was slated to have a rematch with Alexander Usyk for the WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO heavyweight titles. But due to the situation there that's going on in the Ukraine, Alexander Usyk is not necessarily available. So they're looking for, I guess potential opponents for Anthony Joshua to fight until I guess Alexander Usyk is available. Um, and we kind of like mentioned a few fighters there that could be opponent for Anthony Joshua. But with Anthony Joshua, they could pretty much come up with anybody as long as they book. Oh, I ain't saying they'll need to book like a Wembley Stadium or something like that, or Tottenham, or the stadium over in Tottenham. But a good, nice sized stadium, he could still fill out and pack up the house. You know, it's not just there to see him fight. It's pretty much the overall experience that fans come for. So if he, is able to fit a fight in the interim, then we could do that. Um, and there's like other fighters out there that could be potential opponents. So we kind of like see what it is as far as like what could happen there with Anthony Joshua if Alexander Usyk is not necessarily available, out there. Uh, so we're trying to watch out for anything when it comes to that. So I kind of like am waiting to see what goes on there with that, you know. Um, so the other thing is like, looks like they're still bringing up the thing as far as like what happened with, uh, you know, the Charlo brothers as far as like the domestic dispute. We had the thing there as far as like for Jamel Charlo, who is the unified super welterweight champion, um, and also Jamal Charlo, who had been uh, booked and charged for pretty much around those same uh, allegations, so to speak, or charges. Um, but for me, I don't think that it looks like with that it's kind of like what like with what Jake Donovan said. It occurred during an alleged act of violence involving a family member. Should be and it says it's like classified as class A misdemeanor charge with up to 1 year in prison and or a max of a $4,000 fine. if found guilty. But according to court records, the arrest warrant had not been issued or served. So, it's still, a developing story there with Jamal and Jamel Charlo. Of course, Jamel Charlo has been the talk of Twitter, social media, due to his interview with Brian Custer. I'm telling you, if y'all haven't seen that or listened to The Last Stand by Brian Custer with Jermel Charlo, it's probably one of the funniest interviews that you'll see in a while. So that's the thing there that's happening there with the Charlo brothers. Also, the World Boxing Association, uh, has placed in order for Josh Taylor to face Alberto Puello. As far as like that would be the next mandatory defense for Josh Taylor. But we pretty much know that Josh Taylor is moving up to welterweight. So this is kind of this is kind of like a moot point. They pretty much have 4 weeks for any type of thing to reach a deal. Um, you know, you also have Jose Cepeda as a WBC mandatory challenger, but like I said, those belts are pretty much going to be scattered. You're going to have the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO titles vacant, and that's going to be how that's going to sort itself out at the 140-pound division. I think we kind of like discussed this a couple of weeks ago. When we did the reaction to the Josh Taylor Catterall fight. That um, kind of like is what I see happening there in the super lightweight division, so to speak. So I mean, I'm kind of like waiting for Josh Taylor to make that formal announcement that he is giving up those world title belts, so you could have a good number of fights happening for those world titles. So I'm kind of like seeing that as something coming up too. So that's what I'm looking at here at this particular point. Therefore, the super lightweight division. But just wanted to, kind of like give y'all that quick little report. They're here on March 9th. As y'all know, the greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th. Uh, Shout out to Biggie. All right. But, with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed this little report here. We're going to see about trying to get a little bit more of these reports coming out here over the course of the week. Not just with the weekly podcast that's live on Sundays on YouTube usually, but we want to try to get some more of these videos coming out as far as like midweek report or other reports when it comes to the sport of boxing. So if we're able to kind of like get that going here in this particular instance, then we'll see about just pushing those reports out for y'all. But thank y'all for listening in to this particular midweek report. We will get right back at it here with the Boxing Source podcast, hopefully on Sunday. But it depends on what happens on Sunday because someone is adding a digit to their age on that day. So we'll see what happens around the weekend, and if I'm able to be available, then we'll have the next podcast live on Sunday night. But until next time, I will check y'all later. Peace out.